Podsmashers of the internet, and welcome to another episode of
80-bit Podsmash.
Where gaming goes to grab a beer. We did not scramble.
That was not tink loud enough. Do it again. There we go.
We have to get it in front of a mic.
It was like a... No, that's good. It's got a good little spike there.
You have to remove your lips.
They'll hear it.
From the face of the mic and allow the beer to tink. We are a weekly gaming video game podcast centered around the ideas of culture, art, politics, and sometimes things that we care about like science and other things, smashing all those ideas together.
Mm-hmm. Did we say that Penguin and Termite? We're your hosts, Penguin and Termite, for the record. In case someone's like, who are these people talking at me? I'm Penguin. He's Termite.
Yeah.
This is the sound of Penguin's voice.
This is the sound of Termite's voice.
Yeah. We are drinking tonight Flying Dog, Pearl Necklace, which is a Chesapeake Stout.
So I think it's a repeat, right?
No. We drank this when playing Halo. We weren't recording.
Okay.
We were just having a hangout night and playing some Halo.
Gotcha.
Yeah. It's brewed with oysters.
Yep.
It's not very good. I bought it and totally missed the fact that it was brewed with oysters. I picked it because it was a stout, and it is stout season. And then we were drinking it, and I was like, why does this taste so salty?
Mm-hmm.
And, it's brewed with oysters. So, yeah, I don't really think of seafood with stouts.
I see what they're doing with this thing, and I'm going to go this way with it.
Okay.
I don't like porters.
Okay.
The reason I don't like porters and what distinguishes porters from stouts to me is exactly why this stout tastes like a porter. So it gives it that funky kind of, I wouldn't say it's a salt. When you say it's a salty beer, you almost think of like like salt forward. I don't know how to describe it other than like if you put salt on the eggs versus not. If you eat eggs without salt, like there's just a sharp like salt implication that this beer does not have.
I disagree. I very much strongly taste the taste of salt.
Like you just poured salt into a beer and drank it.
Like it tastes like saltwater beer to me is what it tastes like. Like not as strong as salt water, but I taste salt. Anyways, I also disagree that to me porters are just like stouts without the body. Like they're dark and they're malty, but they don't have that like thickness. They're more watery as opposed to like milky to me. And this has plenty of the thick kind of milkiness that a stout typically has to me, but then it's got a really strong salt flavor, which just doesn't really go well together with me. So,
me neither.
Yeah,
this beer's bad.
Yeah, don't get this beer, but we're gonna drink it and we're gonna like it because I bought a 6-pack of it. So.
And we might be back with it next week.
Oh yeah,
yay!
All right, so that is the beer we are drinking because we are where gaming goes to grab a beer. Tonight we are going to be talking about food and video games. So you may be asking, how are you going to be talking about those things? And we have, I think, a pretty decent way of combining those things because food and video games are topics that are very close together. Mm-hmm. They're very adjacent to one another. So we're just taking those two adjacent topics and doing what we always do, is just smash them together.
I mean, we could start an entire podcast on the cultural impacts of food.
Yeah.
Alone.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm sure there are plenty of podcasts about food. So there's plenty to talk about with food. So we're just kind of going to be talking about where food and video games intersect.
Yes.
The ways and
why are we talking about this? Oh,
because this week that you're listening to it is
Thanksgiving. That's supposed to be a turkey.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking more like tryptophan passed out comas, food comas. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean not because of your sound. That's my association. Right. Is I'm like, yeah, I do love Thanksgiving food. Thanksgiving food is awesome, and I'm super excited about Thanksgiving. We're kind of, when we're recording this, it literally is right before Halloween. Yep. So, my mind is still in Halloween mode, and I'm like, I want to watch Halloween things. I want to do Halloween things. Candy. Candy. Candy is the bad food that I want to eat. Mm-hmm. But give me a couple weeks, and by the time this episode airs, I will definitely be all about. You won't be able to have a conversation with me without me being like, I love cranberry sauce. Or I can't wait to eat mashed potatoes, gravy.
Stuffing.
Yeah, I love Thanksgiving.
Or dressing.
So my favorite, last year with our Thanksgiving episode, we kind of emphasized the thankful part of Thanksgiving.
Yes.
This year, we're talking about food because that's what Thanksgiving's really about.
That's what we do.
Food.
I guess.
Yeah.
We spend our day eating.
Yeah. So other than that, what else is going on?
The PlayStation Classic.
I was going to bring that up if you did not. So.
They announced all 20 titles, and I have to say, I am very disappointed.
Disappointed. I thought you were going to be really excited.
No, it is not a good list. There's so many things missed out. And I think it's because of all these remasters.
Yeah.
You take the Crash Bandicoot and the Spyro remasters away from the PlayStation Classic.
Yeah.
And what are you left with? Well, let's see. Battle Arena.
Do the whole thing?
Yeah, we'll go through the whole list.
Just same fast then. Go.
Battle Arena Toshinden, Cool Borders 2, Destruction Derby, Final Fantasy 7, Grand Theft Auto 1, Intelligent Cube, I can't read, Jumping Flash, Metal Gear Solid, Mr. Driller, Oddworld Abe's Odyssey, which is probably the one I was kind of excited to see added.
Yeah.
Rayman, Resident Evil Director's Cut. That's a good one too. Revelations Persona, which I'd like to play. It's kind of Persona 1, I think. Ridge Racer Type 4, Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo, Siphon Filter, Tekken 3, Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six. What the crap? Why?
Yeah.
Oh, and Twisted Metal, which is, I expected that. And then Wild Arms. So, like, where's Jet Moto? That game, like, why would you put Ridge Racer Type 4 and Destruction Derby? Like,
yeah,
what about Destruction Derby is idolatric?
PlayStation just doesn't strike me. I would rather see, like, the games I'm excited for on that list are games I would rather just see have remasters or something. You know what I mean? Like, I'd rather just see have, like, you know, and I'd rather just play them on my PlayStation 5 when it comes out and it's going to be backwards compatible. You know what I mean? Like, to me, it doesn't strike me. I don't think there's much of a, and I could be wrong about this because it could sell like hotcakes, but I don't think there's as much of a market for a PlayStation Classic as there is the Nintendo Classic systems.
Yeah, because Sony doesn't have the same impact yet.
Right, and part of it too is like PlayStation's always had discs. So in my mind, I'm just like, I just want my discs to play on my most recent console.
Right.
As opposed to Nintendo, I give them some slack because I'm like, all your cartridges are different, and I literally can't just jam my cartridge into my Switch and play play Pokemon Snap or whatever.
But when you have a common media like a CD,
exactly.
it makes sense to be like, let me just slide this in here.
Yeah, exactly. So, I don't know. They're going to have an even harder time if they decide to try to do a PlayStation 2 Classic because there's just so many more PlayStation 2 games.
Right, and if you remove all the things that were remastered away from the PS2's library, what do you got? Because you don't have Jak and Daxter anymore. You don't have Onimusha. You don't have Devil May Cry.
Yep.
You don't have Final Fantasy anything.
Yeah.
If you take all those remasters away. So, I don't know. It's like, I'm bummed because I wanted to want the console. When it first came out or was announced, it was $100, and I was like, "That's so much money. I don't want to have to buy another thing this year." I know you guys are all like laughing at me, like, "Really, Danny? You have to buy it?" Well, you know, if it's hard to find and it's a classic console that goes with my collection,
right?
I have my reasons why I need to buy it, but I wasn't excited about spending $100 on it. Now I'm really not. I might not buy it, and that's crazy.
Wow, I almost spit out my beer.
Yeah, I might not.
Wow, that's impressive. I will be proud of you if you choose not to buy this.
I'm not too thrilled that the original DualShocks that come with it don't have the analog sticks. They're reminiscent of the original PlayStation controller without them. But you need the analog sticks. Like you need that.
Yeah.
You should at least have the option to upgrade them or add them and take them away for your own sake. And they're like a USB port which you cannot plug anything else into. So it's like limited in software by drivers that you can't plug any other controller in. I don't know. It just kind of bummed.
Yeah, I wasn't.
Took all the wind out of my sails.
I wasn't that excited. I was excited there. I guess it was interesting to me that they were jumping on the bandwagon, but seeing the game list and being like, it is only 20 games. And I just don't really want that from PlayStation. I want it from Nintendo. I don't really want it from PlayStation. Maybe it's that the Nintendo hardware is so old that it's hard to find good working NES consoles these days.
Right.
Like N64 console, N64 is a beast, and GameCube, they're beasts of hardware, and mine are still running. Yeah, mine's still running. Both of mine are still running without problem. You know, collecting dust and still also running. But my NES, even when I had my NES, like there were days where I had to like beat it over the hand, the top with a hammer to get it to work. So like, to me, if I find a NES console in pristine condition that still runs, I'm impressed because it's just such old hardware that it's also kind of cheaply made, prone to fail. That to me, like, oh yeah, give me a little box with them all preloaded with modern technology and an HDMI cable. It's awesome. Like,
and then you don't have to tote around a bunch of cartridges either. You can just carry it with you, nice and portable.
Yep, cool. Well, we are not that excited about the PlayStation, and it doesn't really have many of our favorite things, but doing this podcast is our favorite thing. Doing this podcast is our favorite thing. Favorite Things is the first segment of every episode where we just catch you up on the thing that we're digging this week, the thing we're into, the thing we want to share with you so that hopefully you can find a new favorite thing. Yes. Do you have your favorite things?
I do. I'm getting it.
You're getting it.
I have to touch it.
You know.
Touch it.
They can't see it. So.
I know.
Okay, all right.
So I have the Super Mario Brothers Encyclopedia, which came out last week in North America. And in it, walks you through every core Mario game. And it has an introduction about what it is, a detailed description of all of the levels, all of the NPCs, enemies, items in the game, power-up. But it's not a walkthrough. And it's extremely nostalgic and right up my alley. And it clarifies names of things that you normally wouldn't think about. Like the Boopon, which is the member of the three little pig heads living in a brick house and moves with big arching bounces from the Super Mario Land 2 6 Golden Coins Game Boy game. Random crap like that. Awesome. Yep. I love this thing.
Very much right up your alley.
You just fell asleep.
I can totally nod it off a little bit there.
So is it tryptophan or is it termite reading from a Mario encyclopedia?
Gosh, I wish it was tryptophan. What's it going to do for you? I wish it was tryptophan. Yeah, right? Cool. My favorite, I've got two this week. I try to keep it to one, but sometimes I'm scrambling just for the one. So the fact that I have two this week.
Rock on.
Yeah. It's been a good weekend. The first one is with our church in previous years, I would do pumpkin carving with our youth group, and then I would take the pumpkins home and put them on the porch. But for reasons, we didn't do that this year, so I decided I'm just going to get my own freaking pumpkin. I'm going to carve it. I'm just going to do a basic thing because, part of the fun of doing it with the youth in our church is that we got to do, like, come up with crazy ideas to try to, beat the other team or whatever. Mm-hmm. So this year I was like, I just want to make a classic jack-o'-lantern with the triangle eyes and then the scary mouth and put a candle in it. So I made it. And then also I was like, well, I was just feeling motivated. This is Sunday afternoon. I was just feeling motivated to do creative things. I was also waiting for Red Dead Redemption 2 to load.
Still going, isn't it?
Yeah, right. We'll talk about we'll get to that. Shelve that. And then so what I did was I pulled all the pumpkin out because I was like, hey, this will feed my dog. It's good. Pumpkin's good for dogs. So I was like, I'll give this my dog as a treat. Not the whole thing at a time, but like I'll give him basically pumpkin as a meal. I've been giving him like the pumpkin pulp as a meal. And I pulled out all the seeds and I was like, I want a tasty snack too. So I Googled a recipe online and I took all the pumpkin seeds out and I washed them. And then mixed them with butter, Worcestershire sauce, and salt. And they're awesome. And I don't know what the smell reminds me of. It reminds me of some kind of Christmas like sugary thing.
Interesting.
I don't know. But like both my wife and I are like, what does this remind us of?
And neither
of us can figure it out. Yeah. Nice. So, but I just have a little bowl of pumpkin seeds at home, and I was like, I've never done that before. I've had them salted, where it's just salt and pumpkin seeds, and that's okay. But this is like I want to make this every year, and I want to do this every year with my son when he's born. So like, I'll make a tradition out of carving pumpkins, harvesting the seeds, and making a snacky snack.
Sounds awesome.
Out of it.
Can you bring me some?
No. Sucker! My second favorite thing is the second season of Castlevania, the anime on Netflix. Oh yeah, that
did drop, didn't
it? And so I've been watching it to get me in the mood for Halloween. Plus, it's the show. It's one of those shows I can watch without my wife because she has no interest in it. And second season's awesome. 8 episodes long. Like
each one an hour, or
each ones are 20 minutes. So
that's
yeah,
really fast.
It's really easy to just blow. You can blow through the entire show in like a long afternoon. But its second season was good. It had some kind of slow. It took itself kind of slow in the middle, which I thought was okay. Some people are criticizing it, like I want more action gore in my R-rated anime or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, like that. Those are fun. It kind of builds up this really awesome battle scene, but then there's a lot of like infighting in Dracula's generals that takes up much of the middle part of the show. And while the main characters are like stuck in a library like researching, so I'm like, okay, well, like I would have preferred to have the focus of the story been more on the three main characters, because it's Alucard and Trevor Belmont, and this sorceress. Like that's a really good, cool dynamic between all of them. So I would have rather focused a little bit more on those main characters. But I still liked all the interesting kind of character developments. Dracula's just an interesting character in this. He's not the one-dimensional vampire to kill in that he is in the video games. So he has some like personality and so kind of all that was really cool. And then the action was pretty awesome and built up to a pretty cool fight scene. So
we have Simon Belmont in Smash Bros, right?
We have Simon and Richter Belmont. And
so this is Trevor?
Trevor Belmont in the lore of the games is actually the first Belmont vampire hunter, and never shows up in any games. He's just talked about.
Gotcha.
I don't know if this Trevor is supposed to be that Trevor or if it's supposed to be a different Trevor. I think in the show they even say that he's named after an ancestor, so I don't think it's the same Trevor Belmont as the original vampire hunter Belmont. Okay. But yeah, I'm kind of hoping they do they show Simon's. Actually, what I really want from the anime, they kind of wrapped it up season 2. They could end there if they wanted to, but they are signed on for 3rd season, and they could kind of they did leave some loose enough ends that they could kind of pick it back up. But what I would prefer is them to continue to associate with the video games, and season 3 just be a whole new Belmont,
that'd be cool.
50 years later, his son, or a whole new Belmont, or his grandson, or something, because that's what the games are. Every single game you play is a different Belmont for the most part. There's a couple that have repeats, Simon is in 2, and Richter I think is in 2 as well. But for the most part, every game's supposed to be you're the next generation of Belmont hunting vampires. So
still the same Dracula though, just one.
Yeah, he keeps coming back. That's his thing. That's his shtick. So, yeah. Anyways, Castlevania.
Sweet.
Check it out.
2 favorite things.
That's
awesome.
Cool. You ready for DLC? Second segment of our podcast where we have sort of a little mini discussion, a little sub discussion, a kind of like what would you do if blank, or
blank?
Who would blank. That's not what's going to be tonight. Tonight is going to be one that's a little bit closely associated with our topic, and that is food. If you could eat any video game character,
ooh,
who would you eat? How would you prepare them, and why?
Eating a living, breathing thing?
Oh, it ain't gonna be living or breathing. It could be something you kill. It could be a bad guy. You could eat Bowser if you wanted to. whatever Koopa King would taste like. Fried Koopa King.
Eating a video
I have
game
my answer.
Character.
I have mine.
You can go ahead.
Okay. So, it wouldn't be Bowser, but it would be in the Mario universe. I think Yoshi looks delicious. I would grill up some Yoshi and then fry up some eggs and have kind of a whatever Yoshi steak and Yoshi egg huevos or rancheros kind of meal, steak and eggs. Yeah. But so I'd grill, so I'd fry up some Yoshi meat and then also harvest some Yoshi eggs and then fry those over easy, of course. And have some steak and eggs, some Yoshi steak and eggs.
I think it'd be really funny to eat Conker from Conker's Bad Fur Day. He's a squirrel.
Squirrel?
Yeah.
Some coney?
Yeah. And I think it's actually hinted at in the game at some point. Someone captures him and wants to eat him. I'm not sure.
There's a lot of Pokemon I would eat.
Oh yeah, that's
there's some
a smorgasbord of
what's the cow one, the rollout, the one that has rollout or whatever.
What's his name?
I forget what it's
Miltank?
called. Miltank. Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yep.
I would eat the heck out of some Miltank.
But that's just like eating cow. It's almost a cop-out answer.
But milky cow.
I guess.
Milk-soaked meat.
Interesting.
Yeah. I don't know. His name's Miltank, so I don't know. It's implied that he actually, the milk or the meat is soaked in milk. Lickitung would probably, the tongue of Lickitung. That thing's meaty and thick.
Ooh, I'm going to go gross. You ready?
Okay, yeah, I'm ready.
A Metroid. It'd be like a jelly ball.
Yeah, like a jelly bread.
Yeah. Oh, that would be so gross. It'd be like a jellyfish.
And it'd be trying to eat you, and you're trying to eat it.
As you're slamming it down and trying to trap it into an Instant Pot and to cook. And then when it's done cooking, you remove its teeth, and then all you're left with is a small brain and I guess the jelly.
Yeah,
you could siphon that out.
Mm-hmm. All right, listeners, Pod Smashers, tell us what video game character you would eat
and how you would
prepare them. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Where can they tell us these things?
I don't know, Termite. Where can they tell us?
You can go to 80bitpodsmash.com, where you will find links to all of our social media platforms, as well as subscribed links to iTunes and Google Play, Spotify. I think there's a link to Stitcher. Pretty much every platform ever, as well as our RSS feed, are there. So that's a good place to start. If you want to interact with us, Facebook, Reddit, Twitter, Instagram, and
Gmail.
Yeah,
just email us. Yeah,
email us. And all of those things are 80-bit Podsmash.
Yep.
And our Gmail is 80bitpodsmash@gmail.com.
Sweet. Awesome. Tell us what video game character you'd eat. All right. Do you want to do a quick what are you playing?
What are you playing?
What are you playing? We've got to be succinct about this because we're 20 minutes in already.
We are.
So.
Okay. Well, if you follow me on Twitter, or us, I have been regularly tweeting thoughts of Red Dead as I play. I'm also keeping tabs of the crazy things that happen to me that would probably be unique to my playthrough.
Okay.
Because Red Dead Redemption is a big, giant open world game. That's what we're playing.
Yep.
Both of us are, actually. And we will experience it differently, kind of like Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
Although we did do the same thing at the very beginning.
Ooh, then quick question about what choice you made
at the
beginning. At the beginning, did you let the guy go or did you choke him?
What did you think?
You let him go.
Of course.
I let him go too.
Did you really? Who are you?
I punched him in the face a bunch of times first and then I let him go.
Wow.
Yeah. Sometimes I want to go dark hat, but sometimes I want to go somewhere in the middle. I'm kind of like shooting for, because there was, I also did the train heist, and I let the guys,
one, right?
Yeah, the
Still
first train heist,
yeah.
And you have the option to shoot the guys or let them back in the train.
Oh yeah.
I let them back in the train, but one of them was like lollygagging outside of it, and so I shot him as an example. So
wow.
I'm kind of like, I'm not super white hat. I'm a nice little like morally gray hat.
Oh man. You make no sense to me.
I know.
Because you're supposed to be chaotic evil.
I'm chaotic neutral.
I know.
That is exactly.
But it translates often into evil.
No, it translates into what amuses me in the moment.
Right.
Sometimes shooting a dude in the head for lollygagging. It's entertaining to me. Sometimes letting him go to go be back with his family is entertaining.
Yes. So if you haven't heard about Red Dead Redemption 2, you're living under a rock because it's everywhere.
Tootin' cowboy shooting from the makers of Steely Wheelie Automobile. That's literally what I call it now. Is what my wife will be like, I'm going to play some rootin' tootin' cowboy shooting.
It's like, yeah, I'm surprised at how many commercials there are and promotional materials. It's everywhere.
It's huge. And it's probably going to be Game of the Year, just with how well it's been received.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we could go into a long discussion about impressions. Neither one of us have played it enough to actually feel like we can give those impressions.
Yeah, so I literally just got out of the snowy area.
Hey, I'm like, you're right behind me.
Oh, okay. I got up a little bit then.
I mean, I'm like a few missions ahead of you.
Gotcha.
But,
okay.
So I'm going to go with this. What Red Dead Redemption 2 has helped me realize is the difference between modern open world games and the classic ones.
Yeah.
Modern open world video games do not have the same difficulty hurdles and high barriers of entry as they've had in the past. Now there's almost, quote, no bad way to play.
Yeah.
Like, you can't really screw up the whole game, or at least the feeling of doing so is gone. Also, there's no optimized path. There's no, like, if you do these things in this order, you're going to have a really easy time.
Right.
So your best bet is to follow this path. That's all gone. You can pretty much do anything you want in the game and still succeed. And that's why I liked The Witcher 3 and Fallout 4.
Yeah.
And
Breath of the Wild was that way too.
It was.
And like, 'cause I even had a friend, a coworker, who's like, I was telling him about things, and he's like, "Oh, should I go do that first?" And I'm like, "No," because like you're gonna encounter just as many challenges without that as you know, like the powers, the beast powers or whatever. So like you can get them in any order; it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
And then I think that's why I didn't like games like Morrowind and Skyrim and Fallout 3, because the systems were still in their infancy, and there was a way you could screw up everything, and you're so weak you can't progress the game unless you grind for hours and hours and hours to level up something because you made a wrong choice.
Yeah.
Or you accidentally rob an NPC in a town, and the entire town hates you, and your quest chain is blocked behind enmity. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or, I mean, there's a myriad of different ways in the past you could kind of mess up your open world stuff, where today you can't. Mm-hmm. I thought that was interesting because I'm playing Red Dead 2 and this is like the first time, I have no pressure to do something correctly.
Yeah.
I have no pressure for the whole completionist attitude.
Yeah.
Like I'm literally just playing the game in the moment as I feel like it.
Yeah. I will say that it hasn't like really sunk its teeth into me yet.
Yeah, you haven't hit the open stuff.
But I can say like I don't feel in a rush with this game. Like I don't feel like with other games, like, I mean, great games, other wonderful games, Breath of the Wild, God of War, The Last of Us, they get their claws in me, and then I feel like that's all I can think about. You know what I mean? Like, and that's like, I want to just consume it as much and as quickly as possible. Whereas with this game, it's very leisurely. Like, And I do have a fun time like making fun of the cowboy accents. In fact, the main character's accent himself, like it's not annoying, it's not grating by any means, but I don't know, just something about his voice. Hammer to me again, hammer rootin' tootin' cowboy, and just
that
like
long drawl.
Just want to like, always want to say things in Arthur Morgan voice, basically. But, all right, so we can talk more about Red Dead Redemption 2 at a later date, but we're both. Again, it's a work in progress for us, so we'll have more thoughts, of course, as we get further into it.
Yes.
So, in the meantime, let's move on to our main topic for the day, which is food. Food.
You went high and I went like low.
Yeah, so let's just start by talking about food. What is food, for those who don't know?
Let's define it.
Let's define food and talk about the history of food.
You are food.
No, instead, let's talk about we'll say what are your favorite foods, but I'll also reframe the question and sort of give you a chance to talk about what do you like about food? Like why is food to you an interesting topic and worth our merit of discussion?
Food is something that we have to eat. It's not we have to eat.
Yeah,
humans have to eat or we die.
Right.
It has had so many different shapes, forms, cultural norms, etiquette, and everything around it, but we have to do it.
Yep.
And it's fascinating to look at food in like that kind of way.
Yeah, you can eat as plainly or as extravagantly as you want, but you have to eat.
Right.
Like everyone still has to do it. So it's one of those things that just unites us as human beings. We're all united in our absolute need to eat.
Mm-hmm. And it's amazing what kind of different forms it can take just in your own life based on a setting.
Yeah.
My breakfast is I'm alone, but if I go out with friends for breakfast, it's not anywhere near the same.
Yeah.
If I have someone over for dinner, we're probably going to have a little bit more of a special meal than if we just had a regular, churn. Sometimes you're in the middle of doing something and you need to get something quick. It's like the form of food can just change.
Yeah,
on
and
a whim.
there's food that I enjoy specifically. I enjoy it more with certain people, like specific people, because it's like associated with memories too. Food is fascinating too because like the very fact that we all have to eat it reminds me of our topic about addiction when we talked about addiction on the podcast, because like the reason people become addicted to food is because we all have to do it.
We have to.
We have to do it. So our brain is like, in a way, we are all addicted to eating because our brain compels us to eat. When you stop eating, you essentially go through withdrawal symptoms and your body starts yelling at you to eat.
Right.
But like then you can become addicted to very specific foods that are bad for you because again, your brain begins to form chemical links in your head that scream at you saying that you're dying when you don't get them.
Right.
Like chips,
and it's all subconscious.
Like salt and
so
butter
you just go for these things. Sweets and desserts have
Sugars,
the same kind of like emotional bump that like drugs do.
Yeah.
It's like, ooh, this is exciting. I want more of this.
Yeah, there's something I read that the high you get from I think it's sugar can be as addictive as basically cocaine.
Absolutely.
It's insane.
That's like the war on high fructose corn syrup, and we can get into the whole like
we're not going to get into all that, but it is
food.
Still
right. And I would personally say that I definitely have a food addiction-ish problem. Like I love food.
Yeah.
I wake up in the morning and I want breakfast now, and I'm looking forward to it. I get excited about certain types of food if we have them in the house. Like, ooh, I have the cereal. I can get up and eat it. I'm excited to be hungry again, so I can have that.
Yeah. Well, it's just so interesting that like, again, food is there's so many good things about food as well as there's pitfalls, but like a lot of the good things about food are like, again, there's it's not only is it unifying, but like it's unifying as a species. Like we all need to eat, and so we can all relate in that regard. But like there's also something that is unifying about or like bond forming about sitting down and eating with someone, like having a meal with someone. It's like a constant. It's across all cultures, every single culture, like breaking bread and eating together. It's like in religious ceremonies. I mean, communion within Christian churches is literally you are having a meal together.
Right.
Like you are literally breaking bread and drinking wine together. Like it's just steeped in like our culture. It's just food is everywhere. Including
video games.
Yeah,
which is why we're talking about them here.
Yeah, but. Really quickly, we neither of us answered. What are your favorite, like, I don't know, top 3 foods?
Top 3 foods.
Yeah.
My favorite food category is Asian food.
Okay.
And that's like not American Chinese. We're not even going to talk about it. American Chinese food is not in this list.
I love American Chinese food.
I mean, it's good. I'm not like denouncing it, but as far as my favorites, things like sushi, Thai food, Korean food, Vietnamese pho. Like, I love Asian food, and I probably get the most excited out of those things.
Yeah.
That's my top. So I can't say that there's one thing.
One single food.
I'm just going to put that as number one.
Okay.
Number two is probably either cheeseburger or pizza. Because I love cheeseburgers and pizza. And that's American food. And number three is hot dogs. Oh, I love pancakes too. I can't.
I know. Breakfast. There's the whole, like, this way it's so hard to pick just three because Macy my wife one time said, like, what would be the, like, one food that you, or like your last meal, basically, like what would you have as your last meal? And I was like, I can't decide.
Oh, and that's an interesting question because for some reason that resonates with me that I wouldn't want to put, like I just said my favorite food's Asian, but that's not what I would want at all if it was my last meal.
If it was your last
have
meal.
Have you seen The Hobbit with, what's his name? Martin Freeman? Freeman.
Yeah.
That's really his name? Martin
Freeman, yeah.
I don't know why that seems so strange to me. Yeah, so the Hobbit movies. The first one, when all the dwarves invade his house, and they prepare this massive feast, that's what I want my last meal to be. And it's like a mixture of Thanksgiving food traditionally with like everything else. There's like random stuff on there, kind of like a Greek feast, like tomatoes and olives and grapes and breads and stuff, which you normally wouldn't see on a Thanksgiving table. But they also had the meat, turkey legs, and gravy and stuff.
I will say I can be a little bit more specific, even though I also have my broad categories of food that I would die without. But the two foods that I would, if you were to say, do you want this or do you want like something else? I would always pick these two. The Greg Brady burger from Jack Brown's.
Yes.
It's a burger, it's a cheeseburger with
mac and cheese
and barbecue chips on it. And it comes with a sauce. A sauce. It's Jack Brown's sauce, which is a mystery. Nobody knows what it is. Jack Brown's is a restaurant here in Virginia, for those who don't know. And so, Greg Brady burger and these burritos from a restaurant called Rick's Cantina, which sadly no longer exists, but it was my favorite restaurant in Harrisonburg when I lived there.
And a blackberry habanero sauce?
Blackberry habanero and steak burrito. Oh, it's to die for. And I'll chips with it. So, yeah, those are my foods. Those are my favorites. So, basically, burritos and burgers are like my things.
I love Mexican food, too.
I know.
I went to San Diego and had tacos.
Tacos.
They were coming out of my ears. I had so many tacos, and they were so good. Taco Bell.
Tacos and burgers are my weakness. I mean, pizza used to be, and still is. Don't get me wrong, I love me some pizza, but like I think burgers have replaced it as my like killer, going to probably result in my heart attack food. So all right, so what are your favorite foods to eat while gaming, or what foods do you associate with gaming?
Pizza.
Yes. Yeah, I can see that. Taco Bell would be one for me.
Taco Bell is my second.
Doritos.
Okay.
Yeah, like really junk food. A lot of it's
all junk food.
Yeah, like no one's like, gosh, I love just playing this game and eating the celery stick. Oh, that's what life is.
I have watched my brother eat a bag of spinach raw while consuming PlayStation games. It was awesome.
Just cramming it in.
He was like,
gotta get my iron for the day.
We were on total vacation diet, and my brother was like, we need something green. I'm going to the store, and I'm getting a bag of spinach. And he was like, what's the most efficient way to get it in me right now? And it's like, forget a smoothie that's super loud and wakes everybody up. I'm playing games, and I'm pounding spinach. It was awesome. I was like, yes, go T-bone.
That's awesome. I think there's like certain foods that I would probably only eat when playing games.
Pizza rolls
these days. Oh yeah, pizza rolls.
That's it. Like I don't have
bagel bites.
Yeah. Same thing.
Funyuns is one.
Ooh, I haven't had that in so long.
I would eat Doritos outside of playing games. Like I would eat Doritos doing other things. But Funyuns, I don't think I would ever eat unless like we were playing like Mario Kart or Smash Bros or something. You know what I mean? And there was a bag of Funyuns. Then I would eat, or having like a WoW LAN party or something. Then I would eat Funyuns. I would eat the heck out of Funyuns. But like otherwise, they're trying to be onion rings, but they're not.
Right.
They're just empty carbs.
Something about video games makes them magical.
Yeah, exactly.
It just breathes life into my...
Funyuns and Mountain Dew. That's it. Yeah, soda is something that like I associate soda with gaming because when I was in high school and early college, I didn't drink coffee. So my caffeine was all through soda. And I associate it with gaming specifically because when you would have those all-night LAN parties or whatever, we'd just get piles of Mountain Dew. my WoW weekends, like when me and my roommates would, every time an expansion would drop, we would literally try to stay up as late as possible and burn through as much of the content as we could.
Right.
And it would always be associated with like 3 or 4 cases of Mountain Dew, basically. Yeah.
So much Mountain Dew.
So bad for us.
Wow.
It's probably going to lead, again, took a couple years off my life
Maybe
between staying up late and drinking that much Mountain Dew. Yeah.
Ugh. I used to do energy drinks, so I don't know how much better that was. And it wasn't cases, but it was a nonstop flow that night. You know, it was like those giant cans of Monster or I don't even remember, Amped. Red Bulls, whatever. Like get the biggest cans because they were always 2 for $4. So I'd get 4 of them, which $8. I got 4 in one night. Can you imagine 4 giant sugary energy drinks in one night?
The first time I should say I had an energy drink. It's not the only time, but for a long time it was the only time I had an energy drink. I was driving on my way home from King's Dominion with my friends, and I had to drive, and they're all passed out in the car. But I was like, I can't do this. If they're all asleep, I cannot focus on driving. So I like downed a Monster, and I was like shaking, it was jittery. I was like again, I couldn't listen to music loudly because all my friends were sleeping. But like I was, I don't know if I had like a headphone in or something, but I remember listening to singing the music along while jittering and driving, trying to keep myself awake. Like it was a rough day.
Another food thing we used to always do is Sheetz hot dogs.
2
for $1. So we'd go get 6.
My roommate and I would do Sheetz subs.
Okay.
As like an alternative to Subway because nobody likes Subway. But like Sheetz, you can get these cheap subs and put anything you want on them. And so we would do Sheetz.
It's interesting because games always come out in the fall. The ones that are like the big hits. The big hit titles always come out October, November, December. And I always have memories of getting those big games, especially shooters like Halos and Gears of Wars, Calls of Duties. And I'd want to play them all with my friends, so we'd stand out line in the cold and get it at midnight, and we'd go back and we'd play together until like 3 or 4 in the morning, and we'd get back out to get food because we get hungry.
Yeah.
And that's when we go to Sheetz and get the hot dogs. 24 hours, 2 for $1, right? It's awesome. Energy drinks, stay up all night. But I have this like association with cold, crisp fall weather in video games.
Yeah.
And it created that like mentality. And it's linked to food because the only reason why we left the house and stopped playing games is because we got hungry.
Yeah.
So I just thought that was interesting to like have that fall association as it gets crisper and colder. I'm like, ooh, video games.
Yeah, games.
Borderlands was another one.
What's this is a question I didn't write on the notes, but it's kind of and this may have a no duh answer to it, but while we're talking about like games that we associate with or food that we associate with games, why do you think it is that like our brains do that? Like why do we have such strong inclinations, both of us, specifically towards junk food and games? And I would say that that's probably, again, like I said, I don't think there's anyone out there who's just like, oh my gosh, I always think of salads when I think of games. Like it's always junk food. Like why is it that like games are paired in our culture with junk food?
I would say because healthy food is usually tied to healthy habits that are also tied to healthy things, disciplines that you do, going to work, exercising regularly. Video games represent that portion of your day or week where you're not structured, where you're not to a schedule, and you're like going to relax. You're going to put your lounge pants on, and you're going to sit down and play a game and disconnect from all of the usual hubbub of your life. So you also disconnect from the usual food hubbub. And your food disciplines go away.
Well, it's also, I think it also has to do with impulse control as well, because games are like the epitome of, I'm just going to not only like let go of my impulse control, but I'm going to like give in to my impulse. A lot of games, again, they kind of enable you to kind of give in to your impulses. In fact, many games, especially those reactionary kinds of games, are designed to draw out your impulse. Like, again, everything, it's all, we've talked about this before, like a lot of like competitive games for the most part are all like reaction based. They're all just kind of like, you kind of have to like let go of your thinky logical brain and go into your like animal instinctual brain. And so by the very definition, it's all just impulse. And so that kind of lack of, and again, there's also some negative associations of impulse control with video games in regards to just like some people have a hard time controlling their impulse to play more, you know what I mean? So there's just a lot of like lack of impulse control with games, and then that's what those foods will often represent as well. Like if you're having a whole bag of Doritos, it's because you've thrown your inhibitions to the wind. You know what I mean? Like, your impulse control is like eating. You are just absolutely kind of just giving into the impulses.
That's another thought though. Have you ever had any of the junk food that we've talked about while gaming by yourself?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I don't. When I'm gaming on my own, it's usually just some water. Like
right. You're right. I don't have it nearly as much.
Yeah, it's
by
the
myself,
social
especially these days. But I would say in the past I have. Like for sure, I've had Mountain Dew with playing games and stuff like that.
Yeah, I used to down an entire bag of Cheetos or like cheese puffs while playing computer games after school.
Well, that's something I do think it's something that I'm not gonna say you grow out of, but I do see it as something that you can probably control out of, but it's so much harder to control that when you're with friends who are like, let's just get chalupas.
Right. Yeah, if you're, double chalupa boxes.
Let's get chalupas and play Halo.
When you're getting together and playing games with friends, it's like an event. It's like a thing. You're like
so
letting
you
down
do
your
enjoyable
guards.
things.
Right.
Yeah.
You're going to go do something fun. The boys are getting some drinks. We're going to get together and play some games. I don't know why I said boys, because girls can totally do that too.
Yeah, sure.
But in my experience, I don't have any gaming friends that are girls, so I wish that'd be awesome. But yeah. Cool. To me, it's the social aspect. And like, that's where all of my inhibitions crumble really fast is in social group settings. I can be vegan. I can will myself to do any crazy diet you can imagine, and I will nail it. Rock solid. It's the moment you start incorporating other people that influence my decisions to just let caution go to the wind.
Yeah. And you know me, I'm going to generally encourage your bad impulses too. So.
Like going to Taco Bell after this podcast and getting a chalupa box.
Let's get a chalupas. Gosh, it's a work night. All right, so the other thing we wanted to talk about kind of mainly with food and video games, food is not just something you do around video games, but there's actually a lot of video games that have like food as a part of the game. Like there are games where food is featured heavily in the game as a mechanic, as something usually almost always it has to do with like recovering your character's health, hit points, whatever. So we wanted to kind of talk about food in video games, and I'll start by asking the question, have you ever played a game and come across food in that game that has like kind of made you like, I want to eat that? Kind of made your mouth water. I want to eat that.
Yes.
Okay, what are those?
2 recently.
Okay.
One of them is Final Fantasy 15. Have you seen the food in that game? Like,
no, I haven't.
It's bougie, like foodie food, and they cook it at a campsite. Dude, nice. It is like, I don't even know, duck and awesome like pastas and soups, and it's rendered gorgeously because when they show it to you, it's just that on the screen. It's not like in the context of the world, so it's like super high quality renders. And like no other game has made me so hungry for good food.
That's nice. That's awesome.
Yeah. And then the second game was Mario Odyssey. For some reason, that potato soup that you fight that boss in.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I want that so bad.
I just wanted to eat. There's so many things in that luncheon kingdom or whatever that I was like, I want to eat that. Yeah. Oh, my gosh. Going back to video game characters I'd eat the little, like, fork people or whatever. They just look yummy.
You look like an eggplant.
Exactly. They kind of look like candy to me. I'm like, candy.
Oh, yeah.
Candy people.
Oh, Wreck-It Ralph, on a side. Wreck-It Ralph has the whole like Sugar Rush game that they go into.
Oh, yeah.
And like that just makes me want to eat lollipops and sugar ribbons and gummy bears and
I really liked a lot of the dishes that you'd make in Breath of the Wild. Like even the meat skewers, like just the way they're rendered, I was like,
that looks good.
And like, cause there's also the act of like throwing it all into a pot and then kind of like, you could like make, put salt and like sugar cane in there and wheat, and and then you could end up making these dishes that you kind of, it gave you the simulation of like cooking it yourself, like they encourage you again. You could like find recipes out in the world, but for the most part, they didn't tell you what made what. You kind of experimented and figured out what made what, and so there was that experimentation. I love doing that in real life too. Like my wife will tell you, I don't tend to like regular like routine cooking. But I really like it. Like if I get an idea in my head and I'm like, I think this will taste great. I think this will be amazing. I love to experiment.
Mindset.
I do. I love to experiment with food. Like I've been perfecting my chili for a better part of a year now.
You better come on it. November 10th.
I'm not going to be there.
You suck.
I'm going to be in Harrisonburg for a baby
I'm going
to
be recovering from a marathon.
Yeah.
Ready to eat.
Yeah. Well, you would be able to have my amazing chili
if you were going to
if I was going to be there. So yes, I've been trying to perfect my chili in order to win our church's chili cook-off competition for the better part of...
when this episode launches, that'll have already passed.
It'll already pass, yeah. So the thing we're talking about that happened. But I have been absent for the past 2. I was absent last year, and I will be absent this year, so it won't be till like another year. But that gives me a whole nother year to try new things. I've been really trying... my wife won't let me make it won't let me do this when making it for like us to eat for the week, but I've been really wanting to put coffee grounds in the chili to give it, not a ton, but enough to give it that coffee flavor. Because my chili I've been doing with, it's been Cincinnati style. It's a Texas base. So it's all the tomato paste and stuff that like, and just beef and all that stuff that goes into like a Texas chili. But I've been putting, I call it Cincinnati style because it's not an actual Cincinnati chili. But I put cinnamon and dark chocolate in it as well.
Yes.
And
the coffee would.
Yeah, coffee would just go perfect with that. Yeah, that flavor motif. Yes. It's great.
Beans?
I always do jalapenos too because I want it. I don't just want it sweet and bitter, but I want it hot too. I know those are that's like 4 flavor profiles, but that's what chili is to me. Chili is just a dumping ground.
It is.
Yeah. Chili is just like, here's all the flavor dumping grounds, and then it's always still good anyways. I don't know why, but it always is.
Beans?
In a perfect, like if I were making it for a competition, I would not do beans. But with my wife, I do beans. I do pinto beans and black beans. Yeah. Because we like to mix it up. So
it's a good little protein, fiber.
Exactly. You know.
Gotta mix it up. Make it a whole balance.
We're not talking about chili. We're talking about food and video games. But yeah, that I think the reason I brought up chili is because that's what it felt like doing in Breath of the Wild was making chili every time I made it cook. So, but specifically, I don't know, even just like the basic meat skewers, like, oh, they look so good and they sell so well. Yeah. Like I always want to eat them, but like I have my character eat them, but I end up selling them instead because they sell for a lot of rupees. But
they do.
And then the other one that came to mind was in Gauntlet, the old Gauntlet games for N64, and like
Red Warrior needs food badly.
Yeah, food. I always like the whenever you would eat food as the wizard, he'd go, "Food is good." But like they had these like big turkeys you could like crack open. It always made me want like chicken or turkey or like rotisserie. Like I'd always want a rotisserie chicken, and I would eat it, and I would go, "Food is good." So.
Yep, I always laughed the yellow Valkyrie needs food badly. Whatever character and color.
Needs food badly.
Yep.
Cool. What games do you think handle the idea of food or the mechanics of food well?
Oh, these new like open world games. Like most of them are doing it pretty well now. Final Fantasy 15 gives you the easy to access and find ingredients, and then the food has enough benefit to your party to make it worth using and trying to look into. That's the thing. It's like you don't want to overburden the player with a whole bunch of needless grinding for ingredients or like chasing things down trying to find certain types of stuff, and then when you do have the food, all it does is just replenish your health. Like that's dumb. Add some stuff in it, and Breath of the Wild does that too with the ability to be stealthier with more health and more defense,
or give you like warm you up
so you can cool you off, and then be able to run faster, those kinds of things. So that's like modern games are taking the idea of food and ingredients and making them easy to attain and then bolstering the benefits of it. I think Final Fantasy even gives you experience bonuses for certain types of food.
Nice. Yeah.
So you level up faster.
Yeah, they did stuff like that in WoW too. And like WoW now is like, they make cooking a profession that's like, oh yeah, you can get a little well-fed bonus if you sit there and eat for 10 seconds and that like.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. I think that just so far, my experience with Red Dead, I have a feeling that food's going to be, I think you can get fat.
You can if you eat too much.
If you eat too much, yeah. Which I think is interesting and adds an interesting element to like, oh yeah, don't just gorge yourself on food constantly. The interesting thing about food in games is like, you got to strike a balance of like you said, not hard to obtain and stuff like that, but also there's a balance between realism and then also, but the other end of the extreme is just like kind of even though the food in Gauntlet made me hungry, it was really just like, this is just an arbitrary health. Like it could be represented by anything. It could be represented by a health potion. It could be represented by a star.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like there's so many like health in video games is handled in so many different ways, and like
in the original Gauntlets, your health would just decrease constantly, simulating hunger and stamina depletion.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's too
right.
Like
yeah. That. Like, and then there's games like but the others. This was a lot of like mid 2000 games where you'd have like, so I think of like BioShock, where or specifically BioShock Infinite, where you had a health bar and then you had like some kind of resource bar.
Yeah.
And most of the food you encountered would either just give you plus health or plus your resource. But then there were some things like alcohol, for example, or cigarettes, where it would increase your health but take away your resource pool, or vice versa. It would increase your resource pool but take away from your health.
Yeah.
And that's not bad. I think that I always thought that was kind of an interesting way of handling food.
I think that is like the gateway between
consumables,
how to handle it badly and how to do it well.
Yeah.
That was kind of the transition period. It's like, let's think of a different thing that health can do for you, or the food can give you other than just health.
Other than just give
and
you
I was
health,
like, let's actually decrease your your resources by smoking because it's unhealthy, but it makes you feel good, so it'll increase your health. Metal Gear Solid 3 has a whole like scavenging, hunting stuff. I think that did it decently. I wouldn't declare that as amazing. There's early days, like the NES times, there's a game called River City Ransom. I think it did food poorly. You just go into a store and there's a menu of different food items and you have no idea what they do.
Right.
You just like, and they have prices next to them and some are extremely expensive and you're like, oh, maybe if I save up the money to get that, it'll be great. It'll do something cool. And it doesn't.
Do you remember that there was like a thirst meter in Dark Cloud? And that if you were in a dungeon for too long, you'd like dehydrate. And you had to like
remember this.
Yeah, I do.
I'm looking in the instruction booklet right now of Dark Cloud.
I remember very clearly you had to like get like, and there were like weapons you could get that would give you a bonus to like reduce the amount of like thirst
meter.
Yeah, thirst that you consume.
You need water to survive. The thirst meter shows how thirsty a character is. As thirst grows, the drops disappear.
Yeah.
Run out of water and HP begins dropping.
Yeah.
Use water items to quench your thirst or find water springs to replenish your thirst or health completely. AKA a timing mechanic.
Yes, exactly.
Do this faster now.
Yeah, and
that's bad.
And that's
using food as just a timing mechanic is bad.
It's just weird because it's always struck me as weird. Like on the one hand, I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like your character's low on hit points, so therefore I'm going to eat food to get his health back. But like that's not what we do when if you got beat up by a person,
I got shot in the arm.
You wouldn't be like, I'm gonna have this cheeseburger. I feel I could have worked tomorrow. I feel just fine. Like that's why games like The Last of Us, dealing with like health mechanics in regards to like bandaging yourself up, at least made a little bit more sense. Like I've got wounds because I've either been bit by a zombie or I've been shot at. So like legitimately, in order to get my health back up, I need to like bandage a wound. Right. And that is what restores the health bar. But even that's not like, I mean, again, I don't go to play video games for the realism, but I still think about those things. Like, what are the implications of what I'm doing? Like, if I take a magic health potion, I'm like, that is probably, in my mind, the most logical, like, games that have, like, a fantasy setting where you can just have, like, a magical health potion or some kind of, like, or Ratchet and Clank had, like, nano. It was, like, nanotechnology or whatever. So it's like, okay, yeah. Like, when we can get, like, so far beyond, like, if we're already in a magical world or a super technological world, like, I'll believe it. Like, or even, like, BioShock, like, you stab yourself with, like, a health injection. A health injection. Yeah. And so I am, I can suspend my disbelief enough to say, that is literally like recovering my energy and recovering my health. Like, healing, but just like eating a cheeseburger, it's not gonna
bullet hole closed up all by itself.
And so that's like with Breath of the Wild, I would believe that like, yeah, sure. Like if you eat like a really hot, like spicy thing, like it could make you feel warm enough. Like it's not even about like actually warming you up because it doesn't do that, but it makes you feel warm enough to like resist the cold for longer.
Yeah.
So that's why we not recover.
Drink coffee, hot chocolate, and hot cider.
Yeah, but it's not going to
kind of warms you up.
Yeah, but it's not going to stitch your
right.
It's not going to stitch your bones together when a bow cobblet and just bash you over the skull.
Breath of the Wild does that.
Yeah, exactly.
Something to restore your hearts.
Yeah,
because there's no hearts in the game.
Yeah. So it's just it's interesting. If I were to design a game, that would be like a question that I would want to like figure out like what would be still interesting, not cumbersome, like
you got to strike that realism balance because if it's super realistic, it's not fun.
Yeah, exactly.
There's that indie game called Don't Starve that I found extremely stressful because it's all about survival. It's a survival game, and I was like, this is not fun. This is weird, and it has a cool art style. It's great, but it was like pressure, intense, and not relaxing. It wasn't what I was looking for in a game. Right. I tried to play it, but you do have to hunt and scavenge all the time. And the health mechanic was basically a timer. Like, I think and I wouldn't say quote bad, but like I did earlier with Dark Cloud, I was being facetious. I love Dark Cloud. It was an awesome game.
Right.
But it's just like it's almost like a shallow implementation of how you could use food.
Right. Yeah.
It's just tying it to a timing mechanic or tying it to a health potion mechanic. It's like do more with it. So that's why I'm liking what these modern open world games are doing with food. They're exploring that space and figuring out how they can make the game more fun and not burdensome.
Yep. Cool.
And I Red Dead, if you get shot, you can just eat like food, some jerky, and you're good. You know, your screen's blinking red. It's a shootout with cowboys and revolvers, and you're getting shot in the arm and the leg. There's blood all over your jacket, but you just keep eating that beef jerky, and you're good. You know, you just survive all the shots.
All the shots. Yeah, that was the other thing about Breath of the Wild is like you could be like inches away from health and then pause the game. Pause
the game. Yep, and eat. Yeah.
And then you're back up to full. Oh, woo.
Hold on, Mr. Lionel.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me eat before you bash my face in.
Don't kill me, Mr. Dragon. Gosh, what was the health in Borderlands?
Just health packs, injection needles.
Yeah.
The little red
injection
needles.
The little red injection needles. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was like, it was blanking. I was like, what was it?
They're like potions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That just strikes me as like that would be totally a joke they would do in Borderlands, like self-referential humor there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think I kind of already answered this, but we'll talk about. We'll kind of revisit it because I think we talked about why we associate foods with games, but like, what is it about food, either inside or outside a game? Like, why does food pair well with video games outside a game? But like, why is it that all these games feel like they need to include food? Like, so what about food like pairs well with game mechanics?
I guess the humanity of it all, right?
Yeah.
You have to eat to survive. Mm-hmm. It's something we do every day, 3 days a week. So we can maybe relate to our characters' humanity more.
Yeah.
If they eat.
Makes them feel more human because you're like, oh yeah, I gotta. Yeah. I mean, it's almost even as basic as like your Tamagotchi, you know what I mean? Right. Like, I've got to feed it. Like, and though granted, sometimes it can be cumbersome, like, oh, I have to like constantly feed this character or else they're going to die. But other times it's just like, yeah, I get joy. I get joy, a little spark of joy when I like feed Link. You know what I mean? Like when I make a good meal for him, oh, Link's going to enjoy this. I know it sounds weird because I don't actually consciously think that. Mm-hmm. But there is some kind of like small part of me. I don't know. I'm thinking about like, I talked about how one of my favorite things a few weeks ago was like this cat that we're taking care of. Mm-hmm. And it's like, when you feed something, you're kind of like taking care of it and kind of taking responsibility and ownership of it. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I wonder if that has something to do with the food in games as well. Yeah. Like, yeah, I'm feeding you, dude. I'm taking care of you. I'm making sure that you're...
So it's increasing the bond between the player and the game.
Yeah, in a way.
Subconsciously by thinking about food and like that need. Yeah, it's definitely more modern stuff is doing that.
I don't know, but you see food in, I mean, way back, even as Mario, like you get mushrooms.
He doesn't eat them though.
We don't really know what he does with the mushrooms.
I mean, in Mario RPG, you can see him like go down the mouth and
yeah, there you go. So he's
health, but that wasn't until like Super Nintendo. And yeah, I mean,
I think the implication is he eats the mushroom and it gets bigger.
I guess so.
Yeah, but Mario is just one example. There's tons of games, platformers, and stuff that you knock a piece of food off. And
Kirby was all about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Forever.
So it's always been a part of. I mean, again, I think the very basic idea of like, oh yeah, we associate food with. So you have this mechanic of like hit points, health points, and every game. In fact, we've now reached the point where we're like self-referent. Like games will self-reference themselves, and there's you always see it in the tip menu. It's like make sure that you reduce the enemy's health to 0 without getting your own health reduced to 0. Yeah. And it's like so it's even become like a running joke in the industry that's not funny anymore because everyone does it. Mm-hmm. But nevertheless. Games, as long as there have been games that have had some form of combat, there's always been some kind of where you're tracking your health. Mm-hmm. Like, because you have to die. Like, there has to be a way that you die and lose. So there has to be a way that you track not dying. Yeah. What is that threshold of not how many hits can you take before you not die?
Yeah.
And so that's always been kind of metaphorically represented with the hit points or health points. And so the obvious logical jump there is like, okay, well, how do we stay healthy as actual humans in the real world? We eat. Mm-hmm. So if I want to recover my health in the game, I should eat. Mm-hmm. Even though, like, that's not exactly... again, when you actually do the logic of thinking through it, it's like, oh no, getting hit by a Goomba and shrinking wouldn't necessarily be fixed by eating a mushroom. I don't know. Mario,
look it up.
Mario may be a little bit more of a jump, but then there's other games that are trying to be more realistic, like Zelda or even Red Dead. It's like, no, eating an oat cake is not actually going to stitch up your bullet wounds.
Right.
So, I mean, you could try it in real life. Like,
see what happens.
Yeah.
Please go see a doctor.
Next time you get stabbed, please see a doctor after eating the oat cake or whatever.
I know eating doesn't give you speed.
Yeah.
I'm not going to run a race faster because I had a potato that morning.
Yeah,
but you need it.
What is it? Swift shrooms and Swift shrooms or
I'm
Swift
not
carrots.
Going to cut off
eat a carrot and I run fast.
Yeah. I'm a half hour faster on my marathon because I had a potato this morning.
You're running halfway through the marathon. You're like, oh no, I'm running at my 4-minute timer of my Swift carrots are running up. I should probably eat more Swift carrots. Pull some carrots out of your pocket.
Granted, we do eat while we run, but yeah.
So it's an interesting topic, and it's interesting. Again, you're as many games that you're going to find that don't have food in them, you're going to find another 3 that do.
Mm-hmm.
So how they handle that food is always just kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So cool. Well, we hope that you enjoyed this topic about food. Hopefully we didn't make you too hungry. But
you are hungry.
I was gonna say it's Thanksgiving week, so you better start getting hungry. Like this is the Monday before Thanksgiving. You listener to this right now have 4 days before Thanksgiving, 3 days left before Thanksgiving. So
your plans are probably made. You probably already know where you're going. You probably already know what you're gonna eat. Just think about it.
Yeah,
and then go online.
See, I'm hungry now too.
All the social media outlets where we exist, and you tell us what your Thanksgiving plans are. And you tell us what games you're going to play.
Yeah.
Make some food video game memories.
Yeah.
Share them with us.
Hopefully, and for those who don't have time off, I apologize for, I guess, rubbing it in your face that others have time off, even though that's not really how it works. But many of you listening, I'm assuming, will have some time off around the holidays.
You are acknowledging the fact that you have the privilege of having Thanksgiving off with your family or not.
Oh, yeah.
You have the freedom to choose if you want to be with your family or not.
Yeah.
That is a privilege that you have.
And if you don't want to be with your family,
others don't have that privilege, and you have empathy for them.
Yeah, I do. I feel bad for the people who have to go to work. But for those who don't have to go to work, get some time away from your family and enjoy some games.
Play a video game.
Just play a video game.
Sometimes you have to get away from your family.
Yeah, as we say, get away from those awful people. They are the worst.
Yes.
So, but yeah, let us know what your thoughts are. And yeah, again, tell us what your Thanksgiving plans are and what you plan on eating this week. And where, Termite, can they tell us these things if they forgot since our DLC?
You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, and Instagram. All 80-bit Podsmash, all lowercase, no hyphens, no funny business. And also 80bitpodsmash@gmail.com.
Excellent. Well, have a happy Thanksgiving, y'all, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.